Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Sin and Tonic. Today's story is that of Nettie Melendez. I found a graduation story and it is truly tragic. So let's go. Sin and Tonic! Hopefully, if I haven't forgotten or been too wrapped up in life, this video is coming out on the eve of my the evening of after my graduation. So yeah, very exciting. Anyhow, so hopefully there's a little picture in, what's it called? Community? Is that what it's called? You know, a post. I hope so. I hope I haven't forgotten. But anyhow, so I'm probably just like basking or knackered from the day when this comes out. Yes, anyhow, I was trying to find a case that was around graduation. This is a slightly different graduation because this was somebody, the victim was graduating from high school and not from university. We are going to the 5th of June 1989. The evening before the 5th, which was the 4th of June, Nettie was at home and she was baking brownies and cookies and lots of yummy things because after her graduation the following day there was going to be a family were coming round. Her sister was coming from somewhere else to come back for her graduation, her older sister, and they were going to celebrate. So I'm setting the mood, just setting the mood. She was happy, she was excited, and she was baking for her family and the celebration that would come after her graduation. So she was happy and content and excited. Nettie was vibrant, she was beautiful, she was smart, she was really ambitious as well. She wanted to go to college and study business. She wanted to become a businesswoman. And you know when people have a drive and ambition, they want to do something and people around them are like, yeah, I can see you doing this, I can see you doing that, I think you're going to succeed. She exuded it because people in her class, her family, they were quite sure that she was going to be successful in some fashion. People that she went to school with thought that she would run her own clothing shop with her cousin Doris. So Doris and Nettie were incredibly close. Sounds like it was a really close-knit family actually. She had older brother Peter and Benny, and it just sounds really wholesome and lovely, family-fied. She was doing well. She had lots of promise for her future. She seemed to be bright and ambitious. She also had a cracking work ethic. So while she was also at school, she worked quite hard, and she was a really valued member of her the company that she worked for as well. Excuse me if I get words wrong. Oh, it's SaniMate, so not that difficult. SaniMate Supply Company. So that's who she's been working for, and she's worked there for 18 months. The business is a commercial cleaning business, and after school and on weekends, Nettie was the receptionist for their company. So she was very dedicated. The boss, the president of SaniMate, on her graduation, so they took out an ad and wrote an ad for her in the newspaper to celebrate her and wish her the best. Her plan, as well as going to business school after graduating high school, she wanted to work, or she'd been offered to work a position full-time at SaniMate. That's a toilet system that we have here. SaniMate. She was offered a full-time position there so she could work full-time, earn some money, and also do her business studies as well. So that was the plan. She was going to continue being a busy bee and get her education and work a full-time job. Nettie was fun, ambitious. She wanted to be independent. She wanted to earn her own money. She had drive. She was kind. On the morning of the 5th of June, graduation morning. So lots of excitement going on. But there were some errands to run because Nettie had borrowed the company van. So SaniMate have had company vans, and it was the policy that outside of work hours their employees could use them. Nettie had borrowed one of the work vans on the weekend. So even though she was 17, she had her licence, she was a valued, responsible member of their team. So she also had that benefit of being able to use the van. She'd used it on the weekend to go to the beach with some friends, and she had to take it back before work on Monday morning. So even though she had the day off for her graduation, she had to take the van back in the morning. So a friend came round at 8 a.m, Lily, to Nettie's apartment where she lives with her family, and they have a plan. So she says, look, I've got to drive the van back to work. I will do that. You go and pick Doris up, her cousin, and then come and pick me up from work, and we'll all go to the graduation practice, which was in the morning. We'll go together, but come and get me from work. So that was their plan. Between 8:05 and 8:10 a.m, the president of Sunnymate, J. Tivnan, excuse me if that's wrong, he was sitting in traffic, and he saw Nettie outside the place of work. He was obviously waiting to go in. He saw her there. She had dropped the van off. Later on, it was discovered that she'd made a phone call to somebody that was unknown. She'd made a phone call while she was there at that time in the morning. And then there was sort of a suspicious... No, let's not say suspicious. Something to note. When she was driving the van back to work, witnesses saw her driving the van, and they saw that there was a car following the van, and that the car had beeped the horn, and she had beeped the horn back, but in a friendly way, not an aggressive way, in a like, oh, hi, like that way. Oh, well, hi. That was what was going on. So it would seem as if, so in that, it could be nothing, but it's something to think of, that somebody was behind her that she knew, and they had a little toot-toot. The driver was a man. At 8:35 a.m, Doris and Lily arrive at Sunnymate to pick her up, Nettie. But she's not there. She's nowhere to be seen. They get out, they have a look around, she's not there. And all they can imagine is that she got fed up waiting for them, because maybe the practice was at 9 a.m. and they got to the place at 8:35, so they just thought maybe she's just gone on her own. She's gone there, she didn't want to be late, and she's headed there herself. So after they have looked for her and she's not there, they then decide to go to school. It was North High. They just... Hang on. Oh no, I'm thinking of Sweet Valley High. Do you remember that? Sweet Valley. Oh, I used to love that. They went to North High. So they drive there and just think that she's gone without them. But Nettie was not there. She was not at the graduation practice. And this is when it began to sort of feel off. Between 10:30 and 11 a.m, witnesses saw Nettie at Sunnymate warehouse again, and she was dropping off some keys that she'd forgotten to drop off when she brought the van back. I'm not sure what that was about, maybe some warehouse keys, office keys. And a number of people said that they saw her and that she had keys in her hand, and the president, Jay, he said he saw her. He didn't even know that she had the day off and what was going on. He didn't know that until later. But a few people saw her at work, so between 10:30 and 11 a.m. And I just think, when I was researching this, I was like, that's bizarre. Sounds like this girl was really excited to graduate. She was baking the night before. She was super happy, she wasn't one to shy away from this. She was a member of the drama society at school. She was up for it. She was like, yeah, let's go. She'd written in the book about how exciting it was to graduate. So it felt really weird when people were like, oh yeah, she was here at 10:30, 11. It's like, but she missed her. Why did this girl miss her graduation rehearsal? It seems off base, not right, doesn't it? It just doesn't feel right that she would miss it and then just be at work all blasé. And they said that she seemed happy in her usual self. I mean, maybe she was like, oh, I don't need to rehearse. Maybe the person that was following her in the van earlier that day, and the phone call that she made to a number that wasn't saved, maybe this was like, oh, maybe I should just ditch off my rehearsal and, and see this guy. I'm speculating. But it seems very, very out of character for her to not have met her friends and not gone to the rehearsal. That seems weird. Also, between witnesses, they saw her between 12:30 and 1 p.m. at a place that she went frequently for like lunch and snacks and things like that, Toscano's. And they said she bought a snack or she bought a drink. She seemed completely fine, her normal self, just going about her day. Other than those two sightings, nobody had seen Nettie all day. And it was just so bizarre because she had spent all weekend planning this day. She was so excited, looking forward to it. She would have wanted to spend that day with her friends. This was the plan, and she was nowhere to be seen. And then it got closer and closer to the graduation time, and the family headed to where the graduation was taking place because they just thought, well, she'll be there. This is bonkers. She'll be there. Sadly, Nettie was not there. They read her name out, when you're going to go across the stage, scary stuff, or exciting, whatever way you look at it. And she just wasn't there. She didn't get her. And looking back in hindsight, that must be such an eerie moment. When her family knew for sure that she wasn't there, she hadn't collected her diploma, her certificate, that's when the panic truly set in, because she would not have missed this. Even if she'd have ditched off the rehearsal or whatever, even if she'd been a bit nervous or something had gone on, she wouldn't have missed her graduation. This is where my blood boils a bit. So at 6:45 p.m, a man walking in a local wooded area, he finds a purse. The strap is missing from the purse, and inside the purse are a number of things. I'm going to read them out to you. Here we go. Eyeshadow, a blush, a Maybelline Pink Mint Mist lip gloss, a wallet that was covered in a pattern of tiny pink hearts. Inside that wallet was Nettie's North High bus pass and some family photos and $20. So this purse belongs to Nettie. About 45 minutes later, so what time is that? Maths? About 7:30 in the evening, the man hands the purse over to the police. I guess it's suspicious. He found it in a wooded area. It's just been abandoned. Nothing's been taken out of it, but so he hands it in at 7:30. Nettie was reported missing by her family at between 8 and 8:30 p.m. The reason that I wanted to paint the picture of the cookies and the baking the brownies and, she was all excited about her graduation is because the police, when she was reported missing, they asked, could she have run away or harmed herself? And the family were like, no. That must be so frustrating when something like this happens and it's really, really out of character. And the thought that people might be thinking, she's probably just run off. And it does happen. It does happen. Teenagers do run away, people or go off and don't tell people where they are and stuff like that does happen. So it's not, it's not a stupid, it's not an insensitive question because they have to ask, but it must be so frustrating, like in this case, when it's like, no, this is just so bonkers. This is what makes me cross. So the purse has been found and handed in at 7:30, and then literally half an hour later, her family have reported her missing, or an hour, to the same police department. So you're thinking, right, 2 and 2 together. We've had this purse handed in. They know it belongs to Nettie. Her name is in the bus pass. Have they looked? Whatever the case, at this point, it was a massive fail because those two things should have been put together really quickly. Within an hour, you've got a missing purse, look in it, see who it belongs to, right? And then you have a family that are missing a child with that name. So would you not then you would be going to that area where this man found that purse, would you not? But that connection was not made. For whatever reason, that didn't happen. I wonder whether it was the police not sort of... I feel like it was a thing like, oh, we don't really even do anything until 24 hours. She was a child. She was 17. She wasn't 18 yet. She was a child. I find it really infuriating. I think they assumed she'd run off. And I think they said later on that is normally the case. 99 times out of 100, it's normally a runaway and they come back. Or, you know, they've gone off to a party they weren't meant to go to and then they come back. But that was not the case, sadly. Her family knew that this was not like her, this was not right at all. They went out looking for Nettie, and they searched until about 4 a.m. and then they were just tired, they had nothing left. They came back, they got some rest, and then they went back out the next day as well. They printed flyers, they went to the newspapers, they were just, you know, they were doing everything that they could. And I'm so angry because it would have been so much easier if the police had looked at what had come in and what evidence they had, and the name of the person that was missing and the name that was in that purse. It's so frustrating. And it wouldn't have changed the outcome of what had happened to Nettie, but it would have been that they could have probably recovered evidence. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. I shall continue. The next day, somebody noticed the name in this purse. So whether that I had that not been looked at, just, you know, I guess lost and found. But so frustrating. They saw the name and they noticed, and they put the two together, and they then sent police to go and look in that area. And the family were then contacted by the police to say what had happened and what had happened, and tell them, you know, and the family went to the same area and they began to search as well. So they had a big search party going on now. It's so very sad. When Nettie went missing, she was wearing her older brother, Benny, his shirt. It was a black and white checked shirt. When the family were out searching, Benny was looking in, you know, they were looking in all of the undergrowth and probably just desperately hoping that they would find her alive. And he came across a patch of material, and it was black and white checks. And he knew instantly that that was his shirt. He called Peter, his other brother, over, and heartbreakingly, her two older brothers were the ones that discovered her body. She had been covered in leaves, so whoever had left her there had sort of covered her over, and her brothers removed the leaves, and they saw that it was too late. There was nothing anybody could do for her. She was definitely passed away. Her eyes were open, and one of the shirt buttons had come undone, and her bra had snapped, and she was sort of exposed on the front half. In my research, I couldn't find. I don't think there was any assault. Her brother said that wasn't the case, so we'll go with that. But yeah, but she was sort of like undressed at the top, but almost just sort of like, yeah, not on purpose. I think it sounded like that. It was maybe when the person moved her body, that sort of thing. When they found Nettie, the strap from her purse was still wrapped around her neck, so somebody had used that to strangle her. Now, the police thought that she had died between 4 and 6:45. Her cousin Doris, she said that she doesn't believe that the sightings were genuine. Not like on purpose, like people trying to cover anything up, but she thinks that people were mistaking her and her cousin. She thinks it was like mistaken identity, because Doris had gone to Sunny Mate at about 10:30. So when people said they thought they saw Nettie, she thinks that they saw her instead. She had gone back to Sunny Mate. I keep wanting to call it Sunny Flow. Jeez. She had gone back there at 10:30ish to go and to see if Nettie was there. So she thinks that people saw her and not Nettie at Sunny Mate. Stop it. Anyhow, and then she also thinks that the people that's the chair, not me, it's all going on. She also believes that the people at the shop that say that they saw Nettie getting food and a drink, she thinks that they just got their days mixed up, because she said she was in there all the time. It would be easy to do. I'm not so sure, because if someone said, oh, on Monday, oh, and it was only a couple of days ago, I think you would remember. I do think that you would remember if that person was there on that day. She could be right, though. Doris believes, or believed at the time, that whoever killed Nettie was the person that was with her that morning at Sunnymate. So when she dropped the van off and people saw a car following her in a honk honk, she thinks that person was the person that murdered her cousin. And there wasn't really any evidence at the scene around the body, no footprints, nothing, because they hadn't put two and two together the night before and it had rained. So any evidence was just washed away. And then someone came forward, George Maldonado. What a name. And I hope that they really looked into this guy as well, because he was 22. He came forward to say that he had seen Nettie that day, the day of her graduation. I'm sorry, not the following day. He'd seen her between 3 and 4 p.m. and she was in town outside a building with people that he didn't recognise, and she was weird. He said that she was off, she didn't seem comfortable, and there was one of the people that she was with was a guy, and he asked her if she was okay, and she was like, sort of mind your business. But he said she wasn't her normal self. It didn't seem okay. She seemed not happy being there. And then because she told him do one, mind your business, I'm okay, whatever, he went off. Two things. That obviously there was no other sighting like that. Nobody could corroborate his story. And I'm sure they did look into him at the time. I hope so. But, like they say, people will inject themselves into the investigation. The minute I read that, I was like, red flag. Red flag. Because what a story to spin. Oh, I saw her. She didn't look happy. She was with another guy. And it was all very ooh. And it just sounded off to me. So I apologise if I'm completely wrong. Please don't come for me. But I just thought, because he could just very well, that could be completely true. It was just a little thought in my mind. Just a little thought in my mind. Also, however, when they then interviewed him again, George, the police then determined that they believed that he had mistaken her for somebody else. And I find this really weird, because people that worked with Nettie said that they saw her at 10:30, 11. Now, they worked with her every day. I'm sure that they would have been able to tell whether that was Nettie or Doris. So I kind of lean towards that was Nettie, and they did, because I just think enough people saw her and said, yeah, we saw Nettie. She doesn't look remarkably like Doris. It's not like, oh my gosh, twins. So I feel like that sighting was genuine, in which case, where did she go for her who was this guy, and where did she go for the graduation rehearsal? Because she missed that and then went to work. And the sighting at the shop, who knows? But this one, it's like he spoke to her. George spoke to her. So how can it be like, oh no, it wasn't her? He knew her. Granted, maybe he'd gone to school with her a long time. He was 22 and she was 17, so he hadn't been at school for a number of years. But I find that hard to believe that he was like, oh, maybe it wasn't her then. Like, if you have spoken to somebody and had a conversation, how can you then be like, oh, maybe... Like, he didn't just see her drift past. They talked. It's like, was it her or was it not her? Oh, tap, tap. It just seems a bit off and a bit suspicious. Nettie's funeral was huge. It was incredibly emotional, as you can imagine. I think there were over 300 people that attended. There were over 150 vehicles that followed in the procession. And this got me. So she was buried in her graduation stuff. Oh, it gets me in the feels. I feel like I'm going to cry. She was buried in her graduation outfit because she never got to graduate. And all of her classmates, when she was buried, they put their graduation hats in with her grave. So not a single member of her class have a cap, that's the word. They all got buried as a tribute to Nettie. And I just find that so touching, and it's just so tragic, because she was so excited about that day and what was to come, and then she just it just got taken away. It's awful. But I found that image of her in her gear, her graduation stuff, and they all put their hats in. That's so touching. Nettie's case went cold, and there was a review. I mean, they had no evidence because of the weather, and it all got washed away. And I mean, at best, I guess, like a couple of sightings that were wobbly. So nothing really at all. And then in 2009 there was a review of the case, and I just find it really I find it I'm so glad that people take the old cases still quite seriously, and they do these reviews and stuff. I'm sure that they can't do that for every case because there's just so many, which is sad. But Nettie's case was one case that got looked into again. They got a profiler, and they suggested that Nettie's killer was someone that she knew, someone that she trusted, and somebody that then had remorse afterwards because they covered her body. So they had that. They also had a piece of evidence that had been in storage for ages, and they sent that off to be tested because, things like come along. Like that was 1989. This is 2009. So things have really changed. I don't know what's happened. I don't know what has happened, and I think it might be to do with COVID, but I don't know. In 2019, Worcester DA said that progress could lead to a resolution within months. And a member of the family came forward, an auntie, and said that the police had contacted them to say that they had found DNA evidence and they had a suspect. Right, that was in 2019. Not a suspect, a person of interest. Peter, her brother, went on to say that the family and the police have a strong suspicion about who the murderer is, but there is such a lack of evidence and they can't push forwards until it's concrete. Otherwise it won't go anywhere. But I find that interesting that the family and the police. So who is this person? Please write in the comments if you have any more insight into this case, because I'm intrigued. COVID did interrupt things because the DA went to the family and said that they were thinking about putting it towards a grand jury. So they have got enough to do that. And then COVID struck and everything just got paused. But we're now 2024. Come on. The family are quite rightly pissed off because that was all happening and then nothing. They haven't heard from them. There's no update, nothing. It's just... So, I mean, I find that bizarre. How can you say we think we've got someone, we've got evidence, we're not sure, we think we can take it to the DA, but then not, and then nothing, nothing. Maybe there's a huge backlog in cases and they're just I just don't know. I find that heartbreaking because that's been 5 years. So that's a carrot that is dangled. And also they obviously don't know. That I'm assuming that the police haven't said who this person is because the family might go around there and, I don't know, hurt him. But yeah, so I just find that really frustrating. It's so sad for the family. And I am going to be keeping an eye and an ear out for this because I want to know what happens here. It feels, let's go. Come on, let's go. Nettie's mother, Rosa, it's just heartbreaking for the family. She has had dreams that Nettie isn't really dead, and that she's holding a baby, her own child, and that she's in hiding. Oh, it's just so it just breaks people apart. It must just break your soul. And the not knowing as well. I mean, her body was identified. Nettie was murdered, but the not knowing who and exactly why, how, that must drive you to distraction. That's awful. It's awful to not know. I think that's one of the most painful things, isn't it? Not having all of the answers when somebody has been murdered or died even. Because it's you want to know those, you want to have those answers. Anyhow, that is all I have on today's case for now. So if there are any developments, or if there's anything that's further going on in America, in the US of A, that I haven't been able to research or see, can't imagine, but if there is, let me know in the comments, please. I would appreciate it. Because I want to follow this and see where it goes. She deserves her justice, and so do her family. Hope you've had a wonderful week. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. I am very excited and nervous still, because obviously graduation. And yeah, so I will post a picture here if I remember to, because I am a bit scatty. I keep saying that I'm going to film Hank and then I forget. So I'm sorry, that's the dog. I used to film inside, and you could hear him snoring, and I think there's pictures of him on Patreon, maybe in my posts here as well. But anyway, I will film him soon, but he's got a horrible ear infection and he looks horrific, so I'm not going to do it now. So we'll have to wait till that's better. He smells too. Oh God, get a dog, they said. Anyway, love him. So yeah, I'm going to love you and leave you, because Paul is cooking spaghetti bolognese, and he's just texted me to say that he's about to put the garlic bread in the oven, and am I nearly done? And I want to enjoy a nice meal. So I will see you all next week, and I will catch you up at the end of next week's video about graduation and how it all went. Hopefully I don't trip. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Sin and Tonic. Hope you can join me next week for another true crime story, and a vase or a jar or a jug of gin. Be good. See you later. Bye.